What's up everybody and welcome back to the channel. In this video for the First Descendant today, we're looking at the original Ice Queen herself, Viessa. I'm basically continuing my speed run through all the Descendants that I haven't paid attention to in a while. And boy oh boy, was this a mistake with Viessa, because she absolutely destroys all of the mobbing based content in the game. I think this has been this way for a while. I just have not been putting nearly enough respect on her name, and I suspect that might be true for a lot of other players as well. And this video aims to, I think, rectify that, at least from my perspective, and hopefully you will agree as well. As it stands right now, of course, the most difficult mobbing content in terms of, I mean, not looking at Void, Erosion, Purge, the most difficult mobbing content in the game right now resides within Axion Plains, where the majority of the player base is trying to farm stuff out. And of course, the idea is to try and find a Descendant that can do this content super easy, and I would say with relative ease, and it's also fun to play. I think would be a definite plus as well. And Viessa hits all of those buttons like super easy. She pushes out insane numbers. She's able to move around the battlefield super fast. Her rotations are very easy to manage, and just in general, she absolutely destroys anything that she shoots her skills at. Due to the way how ice works in the game, of course, you are also locking down enemies, so whatever doesn't immediately die to your attacks essentially become frozen, which also means that they're not any danger to you or any of your allies, anything like that. And so inherently she's just a very effective mobber, because whatever she doesn't kill, she locks down, and then you just follow it up with some more attacks. That, coupled with the fact that you can drop her cooldowns down by basically to almost nothing, including her fourth ability, Blizzard, which still deals a fuck ton of damage, it just means that overall she's pretty much the powerhouse that I think a lot of us are looking for. If you are trying to be, and again, I use the term meta here very loosely, because it is insane to me that Viessa is at the very least not a little bit meta. And hey, she might be, I might have been sleeping at the fucking wheel here, and I'm here for that. But the point is that if you're maybe trying to get away from playing, like you've played Nal a lot, you've played like Inners to death, you've played Freyna a lot and everything like that, and for some reason you haven't given Viessa a try, or you've skipped her as long as I have, now is the perfect time to come back. This Descendant absolutely rules right now, is able to just crush whatever mobbing content you put in front of her at the moment in time, including Void, Erosion, Purge, by the way. And so this is just a really cool Descendant right now, pardon the pun, and I'm going to show you how to build it. So let's have a look. Alrighty, so starting us off over here, we're of course going to be using the ultimate Viessa mod called Absolute Zero. The reason why I mentioned that it's an ultimate Viessa mod is because there are some Transcendent mods in the games which can only be equipped by the ultimate versions of Descendants. This happens to be one of those. So if you are watching this and you're looking for a build for just normal Viessa, my advice to you would be to use Cold-Bloodedness to build her. You can build very similar to the build that we're looking at here right now. It's not going to perform as well as Absolute Zero, but it's still going to kick some butt, and it'll be something that can tide you over until such a time as Ultimate Viessa is available to you. But yes, nonetheless, as I've mentioned, Absolute Zero is the Transcendent mod that we're going to use. And as you can see, this essentially changes all of her, or modifies all of her skills. Our damage type is chill and singular. And the bottom line here is it kind of like feeds into a mechanic that you cannot have Ice Shackle inflicted on enemies anymore, which is like a debuff that Viessa can put on mobs. But when you critically hit, you inflict Frostbite on a target, and then when you inflict Frostbite on a target, you get an Ice Sphere, and those Ice Spheres are basically her passive that hover around her, and these can shoot out and deal a shit ton of additional damage. So the point is, even in moments that you're not actually casting your skills, you're also still firing out these shards and these spheres, and they actually also deal quite a little bit of damage themselves. So the point is, as you are going through it, and I'm sure you've seen in the footage that was running in the background, as you're casting your skills and your spells, your skills, and they're coming off cooldown, you are basically always stocked up on Ice Spheres, and these are just firing out and dealing a lot more damage. Now, it is mentioned that when a skill lands a critical hit, so I think it goes without saying that we are going to be building into critical hit, right? So starting us off looking at the mods themselves, I say this every time, or at least for the past couple of videos, that we've kind of like seemingly been only building crit-based Descendants. Here we are. But the point is, generally speaking, when you are building crit based, your mods, or at least a large percentage of your mods, are chosen for you. And that's because you want to increase your critical hit rate as close to, or at least on 100 as you can. And you also at the same time want to be increasing your critical hit damage, because you want to capitalize on the fact that you are critting so often. So that means the two blue mods, Skill Insight and Skill Concentration, are no-brainers, because both of these essentially give us critical hit rate and critical hit damage. And then there are two purple mods in the name of Frontlines and Emergency Measures, which also do the same thing, giving you critical hit rate and critical hit damage on both, but different, let's say, weighings of them. Whereas Frontlines gives you more critical hit damage and Emergency Measures gives you more critical hit rate. Now, once you have those four on your Descendant, then you'll see that your critical hit rate is essentially maxed out. Now, you are actually over by, I think, about 6 to 7% or something like that. It might be even more or something. So you are actually overcapped on the critical hit rate. But the reason why we do that, there are ways, right? There are ways in which where you can, for instance, not use Frontlines. All right, and then free up a mod slot and then actually put more critical hit rate on your Arche tree or your Arche tuning board, and then you actually do have an extra mod slot open here. But the point is, the critical hit damage that you get from this is the reason why we kind of like overcap on critical hit rate, because the difference would be something like 3.6 times versus 4.3, and that additional 0.600 is literally worth quite a lot and actually produces massive numbers. The point is that one of the best stats for you to stack, specifically with a very high crit build like this, is critical hit damage, because you just benefit so much from the fact that you're always critting or nearly always critting, and therefore you're dealing a massive amount of additional damage. So this is one of those cases that I think that there are different ways that you can build this, and I'm sure people in the comments are going to say, hey dude, drop emergency measures and then go in the Arche tuning board and change stuff around and everything like that. And I think that's perfectly viable. I think that there's more than one way to get to the desired point here, which is massive crits all the time. But this is the one that I settled on. So the two blue mods, the two purple mods, boom, there we go. Now, the next very important thing for you is very, very low cooldowns. You want your abilities to be available basically all the time. More specifically, the more of these blizzards that you have available, the more big parts of the battlefield you can essentially lock down with this ticking blizzard that deals a lot of damage, freezes enemies in place, and basically executes them with that final pulse. At the same time as well, the real star of the build really is your third ability. Cold Snap just fucking deletes enemies, all right? And so you want this thing to be super, super low cooldown. And so it starts at 20 seconds and we have it all the way down to 2 seconds, which is perfecto. So yes, while I'm a huge fan of Blizzard, the shit fucking cooks enemies, or I guess freezes them. The point is that you'll find that more often than not, like I would say 9 out of 10 times, Cold Snap is the star here. Cold Snap just absolutely fucking, that wave just murders shit. So it's really good. Absolutely use that. So then the thing is, getting us back to the point, you want to have low cooldown. So there's several mods that we can use to do this. First of all, there's a blue mod just called Nimble Fingers, which gives us skill cooldown minus 25.6%. And then there's also MP Conversion, which gives us skill cooldown minus 36.5%, although we do lose a little bit of our MP there. Now, at this point in time, you can also use the two focus mods. Our damage types are Chill and Singular, so we'll take focus on Chill and we'll take focus on Singular. Both of these actually give us damage as well. They give us Chill skill power as well as Singular skill power modifier, but both of them also give us skill cooldown minus 6.1%. And it's all of these mods together in conjunction with some choices that we make in the Arche tuning board and on our reactor that get us to these very, very low cooldowns. So that should absolutely be, I would say, a very, very high priority for you, is to prioritize very, very low cooldowns. It's going to make the build feel more powerful, and it's going to make you also just feel like you are just having a blast by having these abilities available to you all the time. Now, that leaves two mods which we can discuss. This first one is Skill Expansion. This gives us skill effect range. Range impacts us in several different ways. The point is that you have this, essentially your Blizzard itself, right, which has a range that it covers, this AoE, so you want that to be bigger. And then, like for example, your chill snap as well, by default or cold snap rather, not chill snap, it does, the cone is not that massive, so dumping in skill expansion here will get us very close to, again, alongside some choices that we can make in our Arche Tuning board, it will get us close to our range cap. We're not fully capped just yet, but also, again, with inversion reinforcements and everything like that, eventually later on in a mission you can be range capped. All right, the last mod that we can discuss is Spear and Shield. Now, at this point in time, I think it goes without saying that there are some difficult encounters in the game right now. Void Erosion Purge is tough, especially if you are playing with a glass cannon character. And action planes can also be a little bit rough if you are taking a lot of damage, you're standing in a lot of AoEs and stuff like that. However, when you start playing these activities a lot, there's a lot of things that you can do for yourself in terms of like understanding, you know, not to stand in the fire and knowing when to dodge and everything like that, and generally making sure that you keep an eye on where the red bricks are on the ground and you pick them up. However, in this particular case, I would advocate like this being a flex slot and say like you can put anything in here. So you could put like, you know, ice and citium in here for more damage, anything like that. However, I feel Spear and Shield works really well for us here. Of course, you can dump some more HP in here if you want, whatever. But I think Spear and Shield works well for us here because it gives us an additional amount of defense, which we are stacking in any case on our external components. And it actually gives us skill power plus 8.1% as well, which I really, really like. So this is a good fit for me, but look at this slot, Spear and Shield as being your flex slot. You can put something else in there and you're good to go. I'm just going to leave it like this so you can take a screenshot if you want, if you just want the mods or something like that. And then we can quickly talk about our trigger module. So again, with the trigger modules, honestly, after having tested different things and so on, you know, Power Beyond just ends up being the gift that keeps on giving. It's just too good. The flat skill power increase, this 15% if you have a well-rolled one or a god-rolled one like this, is just too good to not use, and just basically elevates your damage more than anything else in the trigger module department right now. I don't know if they're going to change this module because I do feel like they've kind of like shot themselves. By the way, I'm not advocating them to change it. Please just leave Power Beyond alone. But it does, however, make a lot of the other fucking mods kind of like inconsequential and not really worth using, which probably is not what they're trying to do. But yeah, but we're also getting new trigger modules in the near future. So, you know, let's see what happens. But that's basically our setup right there. Now, in terms of your weapons, that doesn't really matter though. Just make sure that you are mounted for your reactor. That's it. Again, since we are chill and singular, we're not really using any stat stick or anything like that. There's not really anything that can benefit us in like a really decent way. So therefore, I mean, for me, I run around with the Malevolent. It is, you know, super easy to hit targets when they're fucking frozen and standing still. And if you're dealing with a massive amount of enemies that are being frozen by a blizzard or something like that, firing a stream of fucking Malevolent bullets through those guys is a sure way to make sure that they and whatever spawns after them gets deleted. So Malevolent works really well. You can carry pretty much anything here that can make you swing faster, run faster, anything like that. You can use this build as a way for you to level up weapons, because that also works very well. But yes, the weapon choice here doesn't really matter. I'm just going to flash my Malevolent build here just in case. I do have a separate video specifically on this, which you can check on the channel. I think it's about 2 weeks old or something like that. But this is the build that I run pretty much just bog standard on Malevolent, even in Void Erosion Purge. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Now, when we then go over to, and maybe it's a good idea for me to just quickly move my face to the left here. When we then move over to Reactor, of course, the point is that you want a frozen singularity reactor. Your damage type is chill and singular, so that's of course what you want. Make sure that you're mounted. I'm carrying Malevolent, which is a hand cannon, so boom, I've got my hand cannon mounted. In terms of your stats here, I think best in slot is, and after like a day and a half of farming, this is the one that I ended up with. But I've been going ham on my reactors recently, so I'm actually out of the material to upgrade the shit. So I'm gonna have to spend the next 2 days just running Sigma Sector till it comes out my eyeballs for just the maximum amount of reactors to dismantle. But the point is, I think best in slot here is skill critical hit damage and skill cooldown. Again, skill cooldown helps us a lot here, because the point is we want to get as many of our third and our fourth ability available to us as we can. And obviously, skill critical hit damage, again, the point is we are critting basically 100% of the time, so elevating that damage is super important for us as well. And this is a great place to get additional skill critical hit damage from. failing that you cannot get hold of a reactor like this, I think it's also okay just to stack additional damage on you. So if you have a chill skill power boost and singular skill power boost, that's also okay. If you have mana issues, then cost reduction is also okay. Basically just avoid things like Colossus damage and, you know, stuff like that. Duration you don't necessarily need, and so on, because yeah, that's not really going to help you out a lot. But yeah, I think at least in my testing, this seems to be the best possible situation for you, is a skill cooldown and skill critical hit damage reactor. Then in terms of your external components, I went a 2-2 approach, like a 2 pieces plague and 2 pieces hunter. The reason why I went 2 pieces plague is so I get that singular skill power boost of 5% over there, and also because I like these two the plague pieces having max HP as their intrinsic stats, right? So we have max HP on both these pieces. Then I went 2-piece hunter because hunter has, on its 2 set bonus, it has skill cooldown minus 4%. So there's another source for us of skill cooldown. This is also really, really good. So putting these two together will give us 3 pieces that have max HP on them. So you'll see we have max HP on our auxiliary power, we have it on our sensor, and we have it on our processor, which is good. That in combination with, as our mods on each one of these 4 being max HP and defense, as you can see, we end up with, I believe, a basically very respectable, for this kind of Descendant, almost 9k of HP with like 67,000 of defense, which is fairly sturdy. And I mean, I go down more with I go down more with Innis than I go down with this Descendant. So this is definitely very, very doable. And again, because of the fact that if you are very diligently dealing out blizzards and pushing out a lot of your cold damage, you're going to be freezing enemies, and that's the advantage that you have over other glass cannon Descendants, because other glass cannon Descendants still will take damage from enemies that are bomb rushing them, but you are locking enemies down, you're freezing them. And when they're freezing or frozen, they can't deal any damage to you because they're standing there like a fucking statue, so you're good to go. So and then in terms of your substats on your external components, that's the standard stuff for a skill-based Descendant. So you're going to go max HP, MP recovery out of combat. You're going to go MP recovery in combat and max MP. You're going to go defense and MP recovery modifier. And then again, like your processor, sky's the limit here. I have shield recovery modifier and toxin resistance. You could have shield and shield recovery modifier. You could have toxin resistance and shield, whatever. It doesn't really matter. The processor ain't that big a deal. Next up, we'll move over to the Arche Tuning board. So over here, what we're doing is we're again doing, I would say, a standard crawl for a Descendant that focuses on crit. So we're going down, we're picking up some skill cost reduction, which is good for us. We're picking up some skill effect range. We get some skill power over there. We go all the way up to our cooldown node over here. Again, super important to grab. And then we veer all the way left and we get ourselves some additional skill critical hit damage here. This is going to elevate our already high skill critical hit damage by about like 0.2% or something like that, or 0.200 or whatever you want to look at it that way. And that's also fairly decent. And then we dip all the way around here and we go get our mutant cell. I'm using chill cohesion on here, which gives us chill skill power on 3 stacks. In other words, you're basically ending up with just under 20% additional chill skill power. And this is just since you are mobbing, since you are constantly killing enemies, this will have basically like 100% uptime. Then I think I need to switch my face back to the other side again, because we're about to look at the final piece of the puzzle, which is of course Inversion Reinforcement. So with Inversion Reinforcement, super important to pick up again here, arc circulation tactic. And this is just going to reduce your skill cooldown by a significant amount as well, with its own cooldown as well. So it's not going to be active all the time, but certain parts of the fight, certain parts of the battle, you're going to see, an insane benefit from this. You're also going to take selective neurostimulation, which is going to solve some MP related issues for us. Generally speaking, I do not have MP problems with this build because of the massive amount of damage that you push out, and at the same time because I am running around and I'm making sure to pick up blue bricks. I'm sure that there are going to be some people that are possibly going to come into the comments and say, yo dude, but I keep running out of mana or something like that, and I fully get that. I'm not saying that I've never run out of MP with this, but when I'm conscious about picking up blue bricks and like not casting a blizzard on like fucking 2 mobs because that's like not necessary, I don't have those issues. However, we do have the flex slot there where we could basically solve some of our MP related issues by like a skill cost reduction mod, or I don't know, MP collector, or fucking anything like that. So in that case, use that for that purpose. And then last but not least, deploy resonance device here, which gives us some skill duration here for 10 seconds on a 20-second cooldown. And the main point here being that some very beneficial final nodes for us to have is, of course, quantum domain, and basically self-recovery is also some survivability, and then of course area burst inducer. So these ones, but more specifically the main, if you have very limited inversion reinforcement available, then I would say one of the best ones for you to get right at the beginning is quantum domain, because this gives us range as well as skill power, which are both two valuable stats for us. Range increases the size of our AoEs and of our 3, and of course skill power is, yeah, fucking skill power. So that's pretty much it. That is going to be then the build. That's also it for the video. Thank you so much for watching, especially if you made it this far. Let me know how you've set up your Viessa. Have you been sleeping on Viessa like I have? Every second or third video that I make, there's usually 1 or 2 guys in chat going like, dude, where the fuck's Viessa? Like, Viessa's my shit. Or if I do a poll and I go like, hey, which Descendant you guys think is heavily undervalued, and people just don't, Viessa's always up there. And guys, I get it now. I get it now. My eyes have been opened. So yeah, Viessa has definitely jumped up for me in terms of like her viability in doing these activities. Of course, we all farm Axion planes and fucking Sigma and 400% and all that stuff. And she's just really fun to do that with, which, let's be honest, some Descendants are less fun than others. And she's definitely not one of them. So I hope you guys have a lot of fun. Thanks for watching. Thanks for all the support. I really, really appreciate it. Keep watching. Tons more videos coming. And as always, fucking cheers.